those are the games we're going to play right now. But the games that we're going to play, or we're not going to be able to play as early as we would like, as the first topic I wanted to bring up today. There have been a lot of delays. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Yeah. Hey, it always makes for a good Q1 of the next year, though.
It does.
Yeah, October is the new March.
I don't necessarily mind that. I don't mind delays because there is never a problem with having too few games out there, like you just said.
Not these days.
Yeah, not these days. Exactly. There are 70+ games that came out on Steam just in this past week, and we're not even in necessarily the quote unquote heavy release season quite yet. So.
Yeah, so, you think about what's going on with Tomb Raider and Fallout coming out the same day.
Well, not on PC. Tomb Raider.
No, those are separated on PC. But I think about over in the console space, just like people are just
on PC. You've got Fallout and StarCraft 2: Legacy of the Void on the same day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's November 10th will be a busy day. But I want to go over some of the games that have moved from 2015 to 2016.
Educate us, Dan.
And a few that's moved within 2016. Hitman was announced to come out on December 8th. It's now March 2016.
And again, I think that's actually smart. I think a game that comes out on December 8th especially can easily get overlooked in the holiday season. And I think for a game like Hitman as well, which is usually a good series, but maybe not up to, say, the popularity or the sales numbers that something like a Fallout 4 is going to get, it probably it's probably actually a good idea for it to come out a little bit later.
Yeah, go ahead. I think Hitman is especially a good idea because they have a kind of a wacky plan for this game where they were going to say it's like, oh, we're going to come out with a couple of scenarios and you pay $60, you get a couple of scenarios, and then we'll just add more later, which just sounded like we didn't have enough time to finish. So now they've got more time to at least add some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they'll still have kind of a trickling out of content later, mm-hmm. but this assuming they were going to put out one a month, this gives them 3 or 4 more pieces of scenarios you can do.
Yeah, delays can be irritating for us, but they're mostly a good thing. They usually keep games from being released half finished like that.
And, I want to be clear when I'm saying when I'm just talking about delays. I totally agree with you, Tal, that a there's no shortage of games, and B, all of these games will be better as a result. When we finally play them, they will be better than they would be if they come out when they originally said they were. XCOM 2. I'm very much looking forward to that, but mm-hmm. I'm totally okay with it being delayed from November 2015 to February 5th, 2016, because I'm going to be playing a lot of Fallout, and this gives them a little time to breathe. But also, I mean, with a game like that, with all that procedural generation in the maps, and a game that can definitely benefit from a lot of balancing, I'm totally okay with it being pushed back and given a couple more months in the oven. Mighty Number 9. That was originally supposed to be out September 15th. Now it's sometime Q1 2016.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. And that's a good place for that again. You don't want it too crowded a season. And the spring's getting crowded. But
that one has been less graceful in the manner in which it's been delayed. Yeah. It's just been kind of fumbling. And it's a homage to Mega Man, or a spiritual successor to Mega Man. Yeah. It's not really uncharted territory. Mm-hmm. It's a platformer. Which not to diminish any of the design work that goes into it, but it's not something that you kind of expect to be delayed a lot.
Well, platform polish. The thing is, I was just listening recently to the Retronauts podcast where they were talking about the development of Super Mario Brothers and how at least one point they really did kind of go back to the drawing board on that. Mm-hmm. And said, this does not work as well as it should. If you hit that point in a platform, you realize this isn't fun and you're going to have to rework some mechanics, then maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they just looked at it and said, this is not good enough for what we want it to be. I'm cool with that.
Entirely possible.
Yeah.
But given that it's a Kickstarted project, delays are disheartening.
Yeah, sure.
Then you go to Need for Speed, the PC version. The rebooted Need for Speed, the PC version was delayed from November 3rd to spring 2016. Which is that's always disappointing to see them delay just the PC version, because that kind of means that's not their priority. But hopefully that extra time means they won't kind of half-ass the port. We've also got Dead Island 2 from 2015 to who knows when.
Yeah, right.
Because that one they took it away from the developer, which was Jaeger, and gave it to an internal team at Deep Silver. So
it takes a while to unravel everything and put your own claws into it and figure out what's going on.
Who knows? They may be starting from scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
Dead Island 2, a game that may someday exist.
Tom Clancy's The Division. From 2014 to 2015 to 2016. It was originally going to come out. Well, you know, I think I wrote down the wrong Tom Clancy date there, but it was originally going to come out this year, and now it's coming out March 8, 2016. Speaking of more Tom Clancy games, Rainbow Six Siege, that is staying within 2015. It went from October went from October 13th to December 1st.
Do you think that's cutting it too close at December 1st?
Personally, I worry about that because any games that are released after Thanksgiving, in between Thanksgiving and the Christmas time period, I feel like there's so much fervor for all the other games that are already out that you kind of lose some of the bang. To me, that's a risky release date. I know they want to make the end of the year and they want to make their quarter for that game, but yeah, just that time period in general. At least it's earlier in December and not later in December, which is good. But Thanksgiving is such a big buying weekend for purchases for the holiday. It does make me worry that Rainbow Six may not get the attention of other games out there.
I cannot fathom what it's like to try to produce a video game on 90-day reporting cycles. I just sitting there and having to have something every 3 months to show the investors that. Oh, it scares me to death.
You have to do that every day, Jared. Well, if you don't show me something that you did every day, there's problems.
That's true, but I'm not part of a 600-person collaborative team making a multi-million-dollar video game.
You're part of a collaborative team.
I am part of a collaborative team. It's just
a valued part, Jared.
Value. Oh, thank you. I value you, Dan.
Last one on my list here is Legend of the Sword Coast, or Legends of the Sword Coast, was delayed just 1 month from September 29th to October 20th.
Is that Legends of the Sword Coast now, not Sword Coast Legends? Did they switch that around?
Did I switch that around?
Last I heard it was still Sword Coast Legends. It might have been changed. It's a D&D game.
Yeah. It's some combination of those words.
Okay, yeah. So, but yeah.
Sword Legend Coast.
Yeah, and that's a short delay, and that's fine. Everybody can wait on that. I am really interested in that game. I've been keeping half an eye on it since they first announced it, and this idea of a human DM'd built-in kind of fool with the players at every twist and turn of the map. Things are going too easy for them. You can throw something right in right there. Things are too difficult. You can scale it back. Sort of like kind of the AI director from Left 4 Dead, but it's a person. I really like the idea of how that would work in a D&D role-playing environment.
Yeah, we've seen games experiment with that. And actually, I think Fable Legends is doing something similar.
It is.
Yeah.
And there was a game from...
the BioWare game, too, they announced... a while ago. Was it Shadow Lord or
Shadow Realm?
What I liked about this one is it seemed to have a built-in system of checks and balances to keep the flow. We don't know if it's going to work, but what they were shooting for was a way to keep the flow of tension just right. That affects how resources are allocated to the person building the level, for example. It's really neat. I like what they put into it.
I think there's a game from Paradox called I forget what it's called, but there was a similar thing where you had players playing basically against a dungeon master.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you think any?
So
other
now it's
games?
going to be just as busy as.
But I mean, do you think any other games are going to get pushed?
I'm not going to say any specific ones because honestly, I mean, it's not like I've seen anything that I've been really like, oh man, that's going to be up against the wall. But we are always going to. I mean, we're only in September now. We always hear about delays going into to October, so I'm sure there'll be at least something else announced. Now, you do have games like Fallout 4, which are pretty locked in because coming out so late in their development cycle and announcing a date then, it usually means unlike games like The Division, where they've announced a date that was far away even then when they first announced it. They're pretty, I think the guys at Bethesda are pretty confident that they're going to hit that exact day or they wouldn't have said it, so close to what that day was and made such a late announcement. So I don't know if, I think Tomb Raider is no problem. I think Fallout's going to be no problem. I think StarCraft is going to be no problem. So I think the big ones right now probably pretty much locked in, but of course, I mean, there will still be some delays.
What about, where do we sit with Star Citizen now and the final scheduling on the different pieces being released?
So I had Star Citizen down here as delayed, sort of.
Yeah.
Because that game is just one giant delay, like a delay in motion.
That just sort of rolls over.
It's like the universe. It continually expands, Dan, so there's just new things.
Well, it's a delay and release. Delay and release.
Exactly,
I mean, it's a very interesting cycle to watch. But you mentioned that Kickstarter thing earlier, and that's why I asked about Star Citizen.
Yeah, Star Citizen never actually announced a release date.
Right.
The delays that they've experienced have been in releasing these modules. Like their first-person shooter module was put on, I think, indefinite delay. they just that wasn't working out quite how they wanted. So they're taking that back and retooling it. Who knows if it'll even be in the final release?
Yeah, sure.
But when the final release happens, who knows when that will be? I think I think they've said 2016, but certainly no more firm than that. So I would kind of be surprised if it releases like there's like final Star Citizen that is out in 2016.
I do wonder how much strategy goes into that, right? I do wonder if it's a not necessarily a move of the game not being ready to come out yet, just people seeing this fall season right now and going, man, we got to get out of the way of some of these juggernauts. We want to be able to give ourselves some breathing room when it comes to our sales potential on this. But on the other side of that coin, like you want it out for the holiday season a lot of times too, because that's when a lot of the sales for the year are going to be. So, but I wonder how much of it is kind of business motives, and strategy versus say technical issues.
Yeah, I mean, things like Sword Coast Legends or whatever order those.
Yeah, I think it is Sword Coast Legends.
Yeah, when you think about that one, for example, they did say it's like, oh yeah, our feedback from our community said we needed a little bit more polish.
Yeah.
So there are some
good for them.
There are some where it's abundantly clear, and something like Rainbow Six Siege, it's like they would absolutely have put that out earlier if they could. And the Division, they've been delaying that right and left. So that there's something weird going on there that I don't think is entirely related to entirely related to business strategy.
Sure.
I think because usually the best business strategy is like, hey, let's put out a release date and stick to it.
I just want to confirm that Jared is correct. Sword Coast Legends.
Okay, let's check it. You ever read You by Austin Grossman, the novel?
Not.
I really recommend it both you guys. It's about a guy that works at a game development studio, and it starts out looking like it's going to be kind of a darkly humorous inside look at game dev, which it is, written by a guy that worked in studios. But then it gradually spirals out into this kind of Tron-esque save the world science fiction. It's a really neat book. But one of the things he touches on in that are the myriad ways that something can quickly snowball from what seems to be incidental within a studio into requiring a project be completely reworked.
Oh, yeah.
I never cease to be impressed by what goes into this and making it happen, and I wonder what happens behind the scenes that we never get to see. We hear things here sometimes, stories we can tell and stories we can't, but I wonder about the great dramas happening behind the walls, the stories behind making games. And you read something like Masters of Doom, it's often as much fun as the game itself.
Well, man, I mean, that's the thing. I don't think, the average consumer, maybe not even, everybody on our side of the world, on the journalist side of the world, really gets what goes into game development. I mean, I certainly don't know everything, but I certainly have been covering this industry for long enough and have known long enough people in it and was actually interested in game development early on, that you're talking about, projects that can take 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 years, in some cases.
14 years.
Depending on the scope of the game. But to be able to even think about at the concept when you're really laying something out as just an idea, to think about an actual release date at that point, it's just beyond me that you could even append a date at that point to something like
Romero
that.
Romero was going to make Daikatana in less than a year originally, and you look at that design, not document, but what he had in mind is like, how would that have even been possible? He thought he had a plan that would work, and it seemed reasonable to somebody at that point. They sent him enough money to do it, and it's strange to think about that. That there was a time that
I still have my invite to the Daikatana launch party.
Wow,
a full 8 months before the game came out.
That's awesome.
They still had that launch party.